Hey, look, my name's Chris Hunt. I'm the founder of Therapycise. I'm actually the CIO of Therapycise, which stands for Chief Inspiration Officer. It's what I'm about. I can't wait to be on the online prosperity show. We're going to be talking about mental game, mindset, mental performance. And when working on your mind is the best thing that you can do today.
Welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Online Prosperity Show, your premier destination for exclusive insights into our guests' journeys and expertise. I'm your host, Prosper Taruvinga, and today we've got a truly inspiring guest who's going to change your mental game. Now, Chris, how are you doing today?
Hey, do you know what, Prosper? I'm loving this. I'm loving the tech. I'm loving the fact that you're where you are. I'm where I am, and we're getting to spread the love and share a message. And that message today is that we all need to work on our mental game. It's powerful stuff.
Absolutely. You know what it would have been like back in the time? Would have had 15 guys around us. You'd have had to fly all the way here, and you would have missed on your occasional run, right? So who would want that?
Exactly. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. I'm pleased to be here. Thank you for having me.
Fantastic. And for those that are tuning in, you might be thinking, wait a minute, why this guy's bromancing already? Well, who wouldn't? I mean, Chris is a former Royal Marines Commando, and thank you for your service, my man. He's turned himself into a mental performance psychologist, and is also the founder of Therapycise. Now, obviously, for most of us, it's very difficult to even get up in the morning, even to get started on our journeys and maybe, our mental exercises or physical exercises. But Chris does so many things. And one of his most biggest transformation is he runs 5 kilometers every single day. And he did that for a year. Now, Chris, I mean, seriously, how did you actually get your mindset to do that every single day?
Yes, it's a good question, Prosper. So first of all, for everyone that's listening to this, it's I love a challenge. You know, I like setting myself challenges. I like putting myself out the comfort zone. And when you set yourself a challenge like that, it is out the comfort zone. When you set a challenge of 365 days, running 5 kilometers, so which is 3.11 miles every day, you're out the comfort zone. You're going to have to go out of your way to get it done. And I'll never forget, Prosper. It was quite funny. Like I said, I set a lot of challenges. And I remember just before the start of that year, I was chatting with my wife. And I said, you know what, I fancy a different challenge next year. And she said, what are you thinking of doing? I said, I'm going to have a think about it. And like every person should do, when you don't know the solution, just park it. Park it for a moment. Just take your mind off it. Funny old thing, about a few days later, I thought, do you know what? I'm going to run every day. And we all know about the kind of the history behind Phil Knight and Nike, and talking about, 3.11 miles a day keeps the doctor away and all that kind of thing. I thought, do you know what? I'm going to run 5 kilometers every day. So funny thing is, I told my wife, and she goes, what? Every day? Nah, look, we were going to America for 2 weeks. You've got a stag do. You got a lads trip. We got Christmas. Nah. And I knew in that moment, Prosper, I was like, do you know what? This challenge is it. Because there's loads of reasons what's going to make it hard, And so I thought, I'm going to do this challenge. So we started on the 1st of January, and then we finished it on the 31st of December. And like I said, we had holidays, we had stag do's, lads trips, Christmas, birthdays. But that's what made it a great challenge. The fact that some of the time it was quite easy to go out and do the run. I like keeping fit. I like being healthy. But there was a large portion of that year, Prosper, where I had to dig in a little bit. It was inconvenient. It was not a nice day or a nice time. It was whilst on a lads trip. It was whilst being at Disney, having a child on my shoulders for like 25,000 steps, and then going out and doing the run or doing it in the morning. So great challenge. I'd encourage everyone to do something like that. It's no 0 days. There's no gray. It's black or white. You do it or you don't. It's as simple as that.
I must say, I mean, did you ever consider just running away from it all? I mean, seriously, I mean, you had an opportunity to just keep going, like Forrest Gump,
Yeah, do you know what? It'd have been very easy. Like, it'd been very easy to make an excuse. It'd have been very, very easy to. I even had some people say to me, "You're like this, Prosper, and you find this with challenges." I even had quite a few people going, "Well, hang on. If you're a little bit tired one week, could you do like 10K on one day?
Yeah,
so you can have a day off the next, right?" And I was like, "No, absolutely not. That wouldn't then be the 365 days." So yeah, 100%. Like in life, there was moments and there was the odd short period where it was tough. But when you know the reason why you're doing it, you've got a big why, you've got a bit of accountability, you've really committed and you're taking action on it, and you make sure every day you reinforce that. And by the way, I felt great doing it. Like the first 100 days were quite tough, right? They were quite tough the first 100 days. My legs were quite tired. Little tiny little niggles here and there that you could just feel a bit. But then you get to that point where you're like, I'm doing this. I'm enjoying the journey. I was in silly little things, Prosper. Like, I'd see random people when I'm doing my runs because everyone does their little routine, right? Everyone's in routines of life. So on a certain day on a Monday, I'd see a guy as I'm, jogging down the road. He'd beep his card. I'd wave. All these little things. I'd have some friends join me. Like I said, we did it at Disney. I did it in Portugal. You just do it. And the further you get through it, you get to that point where a bit like in Royal Marines training, you know what's waiting for you at the end. At the end of Commando training, you get your green beret and you've become part of that club, the elite club, right? When I knew I was going to finish that challenge, it was professionally and personally, I knew I was putting myself out there and showing to people, do you know what? When you really put your mind to stuff, you can make it happen. And it's not going to be easy, but it's worth it. And that's what challenges do. And definitely that's what that challenge did.
Absolutely. Well, you're a man of challenges anyway. I mean, for our listeners, just imagine the discipline and the mental fortitude that is actually required for such a feat. You're talking about Disney while everybody else is enjoying stag do. Anything that could have, stopped you, would have,
But you know what, Prosper? And I love what you said, by the way, there. So, I love what you just said. I still love Disney. I still love the stag do's. It was more the fact that I just did this at the same time. It was just like, this is just something I'm doing. And actually, like even in Disney, don't get me wrong, the lesson I learned, Prosper, if I could tell you a funny story, the lesson I learned about Disney is, like I said, we've got a large family. I've got my beautiful wife, our 4 beautiful daughters, right? And at the time, our youngest was, God, how would Bella have been? She'd have been like, 2 and a bit, right? She's small. So she was on my shoulders a lot. What I learned on that trip, it is much better to go out and do that 5K in the morning, than it is when you get back in the evening and you've had a kid on your shoulders all day, you've been in queues, it's hot, it's sweaty, and then you got to do the 5K. It was a funny lesson that I learned on that. Get it done in the morning. Do not wait till the end of the day. It was not pleasurable.
I like that. And it's actually a mindset shift, because if you get all the tough things out of the way, you literally have to then enjoy whatever comes, pretty much after that. Now, for those that are watching right now, I mean, obviously Chris' journey is not just challenges at Disney or running in the morning, 5K runs. He's actually been in the battlefields of Afghanistan, and now he is the go-to authority on mental performance. And I think this is nothing short of extraordinary. Now, you'd already hinted into Green Berets and things like that. Tell us, how did you get into becoming a Royal Marine?
Yes, it's quite a nice story, this, actually, Prosper. I went to school like everyone does. I went to university and I actually did marketing at uni. I probably played a little bit too hard, if I'm honest. I worked hard, but I played hard. Spent 4 years up in Manchester in the UK and got into my first job. It was like an office-based sales job. Doing quite well, actually. But when there's just that itch, that little niggle that you kind of just go, now I want more. And at the time, there was a program on TV called Commando on the Front Line. And it was following a bunch of recruits going through Lympstone. Lympstone's in the south of the UK, where all commandos go through training. And I was like, wow, this looks great. Did a bit of research. I'd always been fit, always been healthy. My granddad was in the army, like a lot of people's granddads back in the day. And I was like, yeah, this is cool. This is something that really kind of gets me excited. But I'm also like, if I'm going to do something, I want to be the best of the best, right? So at the time, you had the paratroopers, the British paras, and the Marines. But the Marines just had this. And if any paras are listening to this, I love putting a bit of a dig into the paras. Yeah. Right? I'm sure you get it in the US with all the forces. The Marines have just got that bit more class. Yeah. We're known as the thinking soldier as well as being really fit, right? So I was like, look, this is for me. Knew what I wanted to do, trained hard, got really fit, very strong, went to Lympstone, passed out the Royal Marines Commando, and yeah, the rest is history. But it was tough. I can honestly say, Prosper, that without a doubt, those just short of a year spent in Royal Marines training was without a doubt some of the most incredibly tough moments of my life, training-wise, discipline-wise, fatigue-wise, commitment-wise. Like, it's hard. Like, there's a reason why, you know, a lot of people want to do it, but a very, very, very small portion actually pass out at Lympstone. It's tough. But wow, was it worth it? And funny old thing, you know, look at it. I joined in 2007. I left in late 2013. Now we're 12 years later, 2 tours of Afghanistan. I now still use some of the things that I learned when I was in the Corps. You know, in fact, you can't see it now. I've got some clothing on, Prosper, for this, but I've got a big tattoo on my back. Obviously, I've got the Royal Marines tattoo on my arm, but right. I've got a big tattoo on my back. And it says, the boy can leave the Marines, but the Marines never leave the boy. And like, I live and breathe that. There's things that from my time, from my past, that are well within me. We just got to bring them out every now and again to live and breathe it in the current day.
Absolutely. Now, let's just talk about the challenge in and of itself of being in the Marines. So I've watched tapes, I've listened to David Goggins, and I've obviously sort of have an idea of what the Marines is like. And there's that whole concept of, you know, you ring the bell to quit, but you didn't ring the bell or anything equivalent of that. What was the training like? Just paint a picture for us. I mean, whatever it is that you're allowed to develop.
Yeah, hard. Like, you know, obviously the US forces and the British forces, we have different cap badges, different ranks. But from what I'm told, we're very the British Marines Commandos are very similar to, we're talking your SEAL stroke Rangers. We're talking that kind of we're talking that kind of level, right? That kind of level. It was tough. Like, it was cold, it was wet, it was arduous. You're constantly on the reaction. You're constantly reacting to things. You know, we carry a lot of weight. The one thing that Marines are known for is we carry a lot of weights on our back for long periods of time. So we do some very tough terrain environments, a place called Dartmoor. We spend a lot of time in the UK, very hilly, lots of tors and mountains, very wet, place called Brecon Beacons as well. Okay. And it's tough. And the thing about Marines training, you know what's waiting for you at the end. You know that beret, that cab badge that you really want is waiting for you. When you've passed all of the months, all of the weeks, all of your commando tests, you've done something called Final X, which is that final big exercise. When you pass all of those things and you've done, like I said, your 9-mile speed march, your commando endurance course, your commando Tarzan assault course, the last test is the infamous 30-miler. And it's a 30-mile yomp. With weight on your back, with your rifle, with your webbing, and you got to complete it in a set amount of time as a body of men. But at the end, Prosper, of that 30-miler, you get given your beret. And at that point, you're a Royal Marines Commando. You're in the Brotherhood, right? And that's what spurs you on. But yeah, look, really tough. You know, we did. Can I tell you a funny story about a mud run? Can I tell you a funny story? Okay, you'll love this. So nearly every troop at some point in Lympstone does something called a mud run. So where the Commando Training Centre is in Lympstone, it's on an estuary. Yeah, and this estuary, funny old thing, as we know about estuaries, when the water goes down, it leaves the mud, the sediment, and it is cold. So if you do something wrong whilst you're in training as a troop, you get beasted in the mud. So they take you out the back gate, you go into the estuary, it's all the cold, wet, dirt, horrible wet mud sediment, right? And what do you think they have us doing? You're leopard crawling, you're running, you're sprinting, you're pushing logs, you're carrying logs. And it's tough because, you know, at any point you want to go, they're waiting for someone to go. I'm done. Bit like the bell in the US, right?
Yeah.
I'm done. See you later. And they want that because they don't, it's a test. They're just trying to filter out the people that haven't really got it. They haven't really got it up here. They're trying to filter it out. So anyway, you do this mud run. It is honestly, it is a British Marines term here. It's honking. Honking means really not very nice, right? Yeah. Anyway, you're getting beasted in the mud. You come out, you get back to the kind of, we call it the grot, so the accommodation. We get into the accommodation. Check this out. You're tired. You're wet. You're feeling it. You're really feeling it. And then guess what they had us do? They said, gents, take your coats off. And they got us windmilling our coats around our heads. What do you think was coming off those coats and clothing?
Cold air, which was definitely
all the mud, all the sediment, all there, and it's going everywhere. So not only now, do you know you've probably got a kit inspection in about 4 hours, yeah? Where you've got to be clean. You've also got mud across the whole of the accommodation block, and you've got to make sure that's clean too. And at that point, I remember we lost a lad at that moment.
I was going to say,
I'm done. Because at that point, there's no sleep. Yeah, you ain't getting sleep. You got to clean. You got to have your clothes ironed. You got to have showered, and then you've got to get all of it. And they're looking for it. And it was just a test. But I look back on it now and I can smile, Prosper, because I appreciate what they, and that's just one of the many things. But I appreciate what they put us through, because you had to be put through that to go into some of the places that we went to when you passed out of training, right? We, as you know, with everything that went on around the world, when I was in, it was very Afghanistan-based, right? And I know how involved the US were, right? It's a tough place. There's some dark stuff goes on there. So you have to go through that pain. You have to go through that cold. You have to go through the darkness, because it's preparing you for some horrible stuff that you've got going on in life. So I look back on that and I'm glad that happened, because maybe I wouldn't be the person I am today and gone through what I went through since passing out training if that hadn't happened. So I'm grateful. I'm sure we'll talk about gratitude at some point today. I'm eternally grateful for those dark times. It's helped me be the person I know I am now.
Oh, absolutely. Because you needed that, fortitude to actually, gather strength to be able to then withstand what was now happening where you guys went on. Because one of the things that I've also learned about the Marines is they actually are, besides carrying the weight and things of that nature, one of the first things you learn is dealing with a jammed gun, and also whatever it is that could go wrong in the battlefield, or maybe having to carry a mate to safety, and things of that nature. Is that part of the protocol as well, of the things that you'd have to? Wow.
Yeah, of course. Again, without going too much detail, one of the commando tests is called the Commando Endurance Course, right? And like I said, we have these 4 tests at the end. And this endurance course, you do a 2-mile run with all your kit, and it's through mud, through water, up and down hills, through smarty tubes, which are like little potholing tubes where you've got to try and get through a sheep dip, which is under the water. And then after that 2 miles of getting beasted, right, you then got a 4-mile run back to camp. So you're wet, you're muddy, you're tired. But at the end of that 4 mile, the 2 and the 4 miles, you have to get on a target with your rifle a certain number of shots on target. If you don't get those shots on target, you've failed. And the whole point of it is that whilst you're going through these tubes, through the water, rifle in the air, you got to look after your weapon. Because if you get to the end of that 6 miles and your weapon doesn't shoot, you've failed that test, and you're going to have to do it all over again. Now, imagine that for a moment. You've trained all this time. You've done the 2 miles off-road, through water, through mud, through little tubes, you name it. Then you've done a 4-mile run back to camp as quick as you can. And at the end of that, your rifle doesn't shoot because you got it muddy and you got it, full of crap, for example. Can you just imagine how bad that feels? So it teaches you throughout training, hey, what's one of your number one things? Is this and this, but it's your rifle as well. That's your baby. You got to look after it, because that's the last thing you want in a war zone, right? Your rifle not working. Screw that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You're now in front of, whatever enemy lines, and you've got nothing to show for it. It's just crazy, man. And all of this was happening in the 6 years that you stayed within the Royal Marines, obviously these were the highlights, but then you left. Why would you leave something that means something to you?
What a great question. And like I said, we probably haven't got too much time to go into full detail, but check this out. So when I got back from Afghanistan the first time, so my first tour, I had one child at that point. Yeah. And we had a second child just after I'd got back. Unfortunately, that relationship didn't end too well. And so at that point became the kind of dad that has his kids on the weekends and when he's back from camp and things like that. I went out to Afghanistan the second time. And unfortunately, when I got back, quite a lot of things had been happening whilst I was away, involving the kids. So long story short, I got back, was thrown into the lion's den, as it were, and we ended up getting full custody of my two girls at the time. So I got full custody of our two eldest girls, Summer and Sienna, who at the time were coming up to 4 and 2. So they're tiny, they're small. I then met my wife, my now wife. We've now got two more beautiful daughters. One of them's literally sat opposite me, by the way, because it's half term. All the schools are off. And that's why I left. That's why I left the Marines, because at that point, a 30-year-old guy in the Royal Marines getting full custody of two young girls, it just doesn't work. They were really good to me, by the way, Prosper. Like, I can't fault the Marines. Like they looked after me. They gave me a little bit of time off. They allowed me some flexibility. But the fact of the matter remains, at that point, I couldn't be the Royal Marines Commando that I wanted to be. I wouldn't be able to go away to Afghanistan. I full custody of two girls, you know. And so I came out, went into personal training, then got into the mental game. And since then, again, I'm eternally grateful, because maybe I wouldn't be where I am today if that hadn't have happened. But yeah, the reason I left the Marines was purely to look after my two daughters. I'd have stayed in for longer. I love, like, you can probably feel the energy when I talk about the call.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love being a bootneck. That's what Royal Marines are called in the UK. We're called bootnecks. Yeah. I loved being a bootneck. It was my dream. It's what I'd worked for. Right? I trained hard for it, sacrificed a lot for it. But at the same time, when you've got, you know, and anyone that's listening that's a parent, I know you're going to get this, but when you've got a child or children or anyone that is dependent on you and that you're responsible for, you do anything you can to protect them. You do anything that you can do to look after them. So, like, for me, it was a no-brainer. And actually, funny how things kind of come full circle. Like I said, I met my wife. We then have had two more children. We're now married. We all live together. Hey, funny old household, living with 4 daughters and a wife, but we'll leave that there. It's a great, fun household, right? But, like, if that hadn't have happened, who knows what else would have happened? Would I be here today doing this interview with yourself, Prosper? Maybe not. I don't know. But, yeah, everything happens for a reason. But it was tough leaving at the time. But I'm now at peace with it, because when you do things for the right reasons, no matter what happens, you know you can put your head on that pillow at night and go, do you know what? I know I was being true to myself. Simple as that.
From one dad to another.
You know that, sir.
Dad to another. I respect that. Now,
yeah,
all the other stuff that you had done, yeah, it's okay. It's all for your muscles. Yeah. But this, bruh.
Yeah.
I've got 2 girls myself.
Yeah, lovely. Yeah.
And I can only imagine what it is that you would have gone through, you know, the pain of wanting to keep up with work and everything, and the pain of wanting to be there for them. I just hope they know that. If there's something that you want to say to them right now, this very moment, we can cut it out just for them, what would you want to tell them?
Just like all day long, everything, you know, my wife and I do for the kids, always for the kids, right? And I would, you know, it's the classic one. I'd walk on fire, you know, cross the ocean, swim 1,000 miles, shark infested water. It sounds really cheesy, but you would do that stuff, you know, and it's, you do what you do for your children, simple as that. And do you know what? Like I said, you know, listen to the kids mainly, like, I would do anything for them. If I had to do it again, of course I would. And it's just at the time, yeah, tough at the time. But when you also now see the impact, Prosper, that choice, again, maybe I'm a protector at heart, right? Going into the Royal Marines, you're very doing that. And maybe I'm a protector at heart. And so actually seeing the impact that choice has had long term, especially for the eldest two. You know, our 2 beautiful younger daughters are with my current partner, yeah, and within our household, the eldest 2 now obviously live with us full time, right? But seeing the impact that has had on them, that protection, that decision, no brainer, do it again. all day long.
Absolutely. And congratulations, my man. Now, obviously, when all that dust had settled, and you had to now go through what you went through, you then had to transition from military life into civilian life, and not just a civilian kind, but civilian entrepreneurship. That's a whole different shift in and of itself. Walk us through those days.
Yeah, like, it was interesting because, like I said at the time, you think I was coming out of the Marines that I loved, and I needed a job that would allow me to be at home as well, clearly. All right. But I didn't just want to sit there on, no offense to anyone that's on it. I don't want to be on welfare. I wanted to, be self-sustaining. And at the time I knew I had certain skills, physical training, kind of positive guy, right? So I thought, let's go into personal training. So I went straight into personal training, set up my business, helping people lose weight, get fit, get strong, those goals. And quite quickly after a year or so, it really dawned on me that, I like all that stuff. But for me, the mental game is what it's about. That's my passion. And so I developed what first came out was like a transference of business. I started out as a chief results personal training, went into the fundamental coaching, and then developed Therapycise, which is what I'm doing now, right? And again, it's the mental game. But it answers your question, Prosper. It was interesting because you're going from where I was very routine based, troop phys, troop activities. You live with the boys during the week, coming back at weekends. So then all of a sudden you come out, you've got your mortgage, your council tax, your bills, routines, kids, school, all that kind of stuff. So it was interesting. And I learned a lot, but I think I also learned a lot to kind of, you got to accept certain situations sometimes along the journey, right? I'm all for positive action. I'm all for doing what I can do to move forward. I encourage it with all the clients that I work with as well, right? But at the same time, sometimes you just got to take stock, accept it. It is what it is. This is what it is. What can I do? Let me sit with it. Let me sit with this for a day or so.
Now, I just want to get into your mind a little bit, your own mindset. So obviously you've come in from people that are lifting heavy things, going through that muddy patches, doing push-ups on command and things of that nature. And then you become a fitness trainer for Sally, who's just wanting to fit into her wedding dress. And she does 4 push-ups and she takes a swing of water, and then she gets back on her phone, and then you ask her, come on, let's do this again. And she looks at you weird. Didn't that sort of get to you that, I know people can do more than this, but you can't even do 20 push-ups?
I think it did, but at the same time, I think at the same time as developing the business and doing what I was doing in a situation like you just said with Sally, I actually had a client called Sally, by the way. That's quite funny. But what I also at the time was forced to do was really work on my empathy and compassion. Because again, I'd come from this environment where tough, hard, discipline, you do it whether you like it or not. Don't do it, you let your teammates down, you let your oppos down. You got to do it. But again, coming out, having the young girls, being in a very male environment, and then funny how things, weird how life works, right? I'm in a male environment, always been into football, boxing, and then I have my beautiful wife and I live with 4 daughters. So life is very different now, but it forces you to be very empathetic, develop your compassion, develop your reasoning, your awareness. So do you know what? It was definitely a period of adjustment and adaptation for sure, but it was worthy. And what it's like, Prosper, man, when you're trying to work on something, it needs work. You got to sacrifice. You got to put the effort in. You got to put the reps in. I always use that analogy for mental game training, by the way. It's exactly the same as physical training. You want to get stronger. You want to get better at pull-ups. You want to get better at your 5K run. You got to put the runs in. You got to put the reps in. Well, you want to get better at adaptation, adjusting, awareness, compassion, empathy, focus. You got to put the reps in. You got to be proactive with the work. So I think actually at that time, now I've developed a big set of tools, but at that time in the early days since leaving the Corps, the Marines, it was more playing the game a little bit, trying to try things out, winging it a little bit, but also accepting that, do you know what? It ain't going to be perfect when you're starting out. It's not. You want it to be perfect, but maybe there's no such thing when you're starting out. Maybe there's no such thing ever. But what there is that ability to put yourself out there and go, do you know what? I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to show up every day. I'm going to show up every day. I'm going to put the work in. I'm going to do what others are not willing to do. But I'm at the same time which a lot of people don't do, by the way, I'm going to pat myself on the back when it goes well, right? I'm not going to sit there and just hide my emotion. When I do something great, yeah, thank you very much. I'm going to pat that back of mine. Thank you, because the work's worth it.
Absolutely. And I quite like that, because so many people don't even have people around them to celebrate their successes. So they just maybe don't even know when they've arrived. And that's the reason why so many people burn out, because nobody has told them it's okay. You can go home now. All right.
Honestly, Prosper, I got this tool. Sorry to interrupt them. I've got to share it. I got this tool. I want you to do it now, just quickly for me for a second. Yeah. Just give yourself a big hug. Do it now. Just give yourself a big hug, right? And just close your eyes for a minute. Trust me. Just close your eyes for a minute. Just close your eyes. I'm doing it as well. And just hug. Enjoy. Put a smile on your face. Like, just embrace you. Embrace, like, you right now. Maybe spend a few seconds thinking about your wins, something in the last day that's made you happy. And you just do that. Now open your eyes. Now, that was just about 15, 20 seconds, right? I did something called the 90-second self-love hug. And when people do it, they feel weird. They're like, oh, my God. And they go through that journey of, this feels a bit odd. Mm-hmm. Then it gets to, actually, I quite like it. And then it gets to, wow, I'm going to do this more often. How often do we show ourselves some serious self-love? And you can do that with a hug and a smile and a little bit of mental rehearsal. It's a powerful tool, man. And all it takes is 90 seconds. And if you haven't got 90 seconds, do it for 60 seconds. You brush your teeth every day. Who says you can't do a love hug every day? That's my view.
Absolutely. I like how you emphasize these daily mental exercises as akin to brushing your teeth, because you wouldn't just walk out of the house without having brushed your teeth. Way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no way.
And what if you forget and maybe you skip a day? Is there a recourse to that, or what then happens with that?
Oh man, it's about an intention, right? So the intention is to do this stuff every day, and you put things in place that allows you to do that as easily as possible. Anchoring, bridging it to habits you already do, reinforcement, reminders, all these things. But you know what? Let's be honest, life throws curveballs. We all know that. And I know if your listeners are listening right now, they agree with me. You will get a curveball every now and again. Something out of control. Look at the curveballs going on around the world right now. There's a few of them, right? If that happens, do you wake up the next day and go from self-love to self-hatred? No. You go, do you know what? It's just one day. What about the other 3,000 or 4,000 or 200, whatever it may be that you've been doing this? It's minuscule in comparison. Chalk it off, move on.
I love that. Now, you've taken on the role of mental performance lead in quite a lot of organizations, and that's quite commendable in and of itself. Now, how do you then tailor the approach? Because people are different, you know, people are coming from diverse groups, diverse maybe cultures and things like that, or maybe it's like a sports team and things of that nature. How do you tailor it to suit that particular group of people you're working with?
Do you know what? It's hard to tailor it, right, at the very offset, because let's say even right now, we've just met each other, right? Obviously, we've seen each other digitally in various ways, but now we're actually meeting for the first time.
Right.
I can't know you like you can't know me, but there's one thing that we both have in common right now, or you know from me and I know from you already. You're passionate. You're enthusiastic about what you do and you believe in what you do. So the way I like to tailor at the beginning is whenever I work with a sports team, I'm working with now like an elite wheelchair basketball team, a good football team. I'm working with other organizations that work with military recruits, martial artists, endurance sports. At the very beginning, I give them the most enthusiastic version of me they will ever see. I show them the passion. I show them the energy, and I let everyone that I work with know, do you know what? I don't know everyone individually enough yet to know exactly what will work for you. But what I sell is some philosophies, beliefs, things that go, do you know what? This has worked for people just like you possibly. Give it a go. You build up that trust. All of a sudden, you're doing the workshops. You have the face-to-face contact. You're running the one-to-one sessions. You build that respect, that feeling that they understand you and you understand them. And then you can start tailoring it. But you've got to, I always like the analogy of building data, Prosper, right? So like whenever I go in with an organization, I need to build some data at the beginning. I need to get a feel for you. What are you about? What do you do? What are your habits like? What's the culture like? And then when you start with that data, then we can start going, do you know what? Let's tailor this a little bit now. I'll feel you. This will work for everybody. But do you know what? For you, I think this is what you need. And then again, you go out and give it a go. You experiment, trial and error. Just because it worked for someone like you doesn't mean it guaranteed to work. Play with it. What do we do as kids, Prosper? We play.
Play. It's always
playing. Man, we dance with it. We run about. We fall over 7 times, get back up 8. Like, that's what we do. We need to do that as adults as well.
The reason why I like that is if you obviously break the pattern, because every one of us is already going through whatever certain patterns in their head. I'm not worth it. I'm not strong enough, or whatever it is. But if you just show up as a human being, like you say, with this smile and, the just ever-present energy that you then pass on to them, that bored enthusiasm, I think that just works for them. And then they build up on that. And then maybe their own goals and whatever their, particular situation is the one that then fuels them to move forward. And I think that's very important, even as a business person or as a salesperson. If you show up at a place where you don't know who you're going to be dealing with, just put your best foot forward. You did talk about kids. There's a kid song. You put your whole self in. You put your whole self out.
I love that.
Do the roly-poly. Just do the roly-poly. Show up. But how do you maintain such positivity? And how does this sort of how do people receive this attitude?
Do you know what? Ongoing work. But like I said earlier, have fun. Like, have fun with this stuff. Like, your mind and your mental game is worth it. If anyone listening right now, we spend money on brand new phones, cars, holidays. I love all that. Don't be wrong. I'm not one of these people that's anti enjoying life's pleasures, right? I love a holiday. I like going out. I like having fun. I like buying nice things. But do you know what? Right up there with that is your mind. And our brain is a bit like, I always like to use the analogy of like, your brain is like the phone here, right? You've got your brain, you've got it. But the software upgrades that you get with a phone and a device is like our mind. So with your mind, you got to upgrade it. You got to play with it. As we know with technology, every now and again, you give your phone an upgrade. All of a sudden, something's not going quite well. You have to downgrade it again, and then all of a sudden, it's fine. You upgrade things to give it a go, to feel better about yourself. But your mind is worth it. It impacts everything that we think, feel, and behave. It impacts our relationships. It impacts our energy. It impacts the way we show the world. It impacts the way we feel when we're on our own. It impacts the way we feel when we're with others, our businesses, our health, our external world, internal world. It impacts everything that we do. And so, like I said, with the toothbrush analogy, like, you can work this stuff every day. You can work this stuff every day. Like, just because you wouldn't, like you say, you wouldn't just wake up one day, would you, Prosper, and go, oh, yeah, do you know what? Yeah, they look all right today. I don't need to do it. You wouldn't, right? It's the same with the mental game. Proactive work. Looking for some things can take it just a few seconds, like the love hug. It doesn't take long. There's other things you can do that take that little bit longer. But for me, if you really want to sustain it, then you've got to do the work. If you want to sustain it, then you need to make it part of your life, part of your identity. So like when people say to me, Chris, man, you've got so much energy, you're enthusiastic. And I always stop someone when they say that. And I'm like, what do you mean by enthusiastic, right? And they'll go, you're high energy. And I'm like, well, check this out. And please, for anyone listening, check this word out. I got shown this a while ago by a mentor of mine. You write down the word enthusiasm. Yeah. If you write it down now, the E, the N, THUSIASM, the I, the A, the S, and the M on enthusiasm stands for these words. I am sold myself. So do you know why I'm enthusiastic about this stuff? Because I'm sold on it. So when I step in a room and I'm like I am now with the people that I'm working with, and they see me high energy, high enthusiasm, it's because I'm sold on it and I fully believe in it. And so for me to keep that energy going, like you asked me a minute ago about how do I keep this going, I'm reinforcing all the time. I'm looking for ways to reinforce what I do. I look for those moments of joy. I'm like, yeah, that's part of that. I learn new things. I try new things. I give things a go, but I'm reinforcing. I look for reinforcement opportunities. I do a lot of mental imagery, Prosper, right? And for me, when you do mental imagery and you look at your previous wins as well, I want to see clients stack up a library. So if I said to you now, Prosper, I want 5 moments in the last week when you are like peak moment, peak enthusiasm. I want you to get so good that you're like, hey, Chris, only 5? I got 20. I got 30. And it develops over time. And it changes. It's a lens, man. And anyone listening, it's a lens that you view the world. It's a belief system. So you start working on your mind, you work on your energy and enthusiasm, things just look different. You see things differently, internal and external. It's powerful stuff, man. Powerful stuff.
Absolutely. What do they say? Change the things that you look at, and change the way you look at things, and the things that you look for.
There you go.
Definitely change.
Definitely.
And I absolutely love that statement. Now, you introduced us to the whole Green Beret thing, that pretty much after you've gone through the mud at the top of the hill, that's where you're given your badge and the green. So are you saying in order for somebody to go through whatever they're going through in life, they should figure out what their Green Beret is and just...
Oh, man. Love that. Do you know what? You just said it. You've just absolutely nailed it. Fine. And this is so odd that you asked this, Prosper, because I was chatting with a client last week and he was asking me funny thing about various things. And I said to him, just like you just said, you need to go out this week and uncover what your Green Beret moment is. What's your Green Beret moment? What's that moment? For me, it was that Green Beret. I knew what was coming. I knew that if I did this, I was getting that at the end of it. I enjoyed the journey. It was tough. I enjoyed the hard work, the fact that, numbers do drop throughout training. So when you're seeing numbers drop in your troop, and you're like, wow, I must be doing something right here. This is good. But you got that Green Beret moment. Everyone is here for a reason. And it's uncovering what it is. Again, you spoke about energy earlier, right? Like, what's the why? What's that leverage that when times are hard or times are tough? And as we know in business, right? Sometimes you can do everything right in business. And not necessarily you're going to get the reward that you want straight away. It might be not that day, it might not be that week. But when you have that why and that Green Beret moment, you're like, that's okay. I know it's going to be tough. I know, just like Royal Marines training, there's going to be ups, there's going to be downs. Some things I'm going to do great, some things I won't. But I know where I'm going towards. It is clear. I have got clarity. I know that clarity is power and it is there for me. I've just got to keep taking those steps, no matter how small. And if you do that and you're clear and you get eyes on, nice little military term, eyes on target, eyes on that vision, eyes where you're going, you can't help, but you will get there. There's 4 kind of rules, Prosper, right, where you gotta show up, right? First of all, with anything in life, you got to show up. Listeners, you got to show up, right? You got to put the work in. It's all right showing up. That's great. You've got yourself in the arena, right? But then you got to put the work in. Next up, you got to ask questions. And with the answers that you get with those questions, you got to then take action. And if you do that stuff and you do it with patience, you do it with persistence, and you do it with perspiration and work hard at it, you're going to get there 100%. Whether it's this week, this month, this year, this decade, you will get there. But you just got to make sure you're doing enough of the right stuff and it's for the right reasons. You do that, I fully believe in you.
Absolutely. And for those that are looking for maybe their own Green Beret moment or just to enhance the mental game, what specific maybe Therapycise programs would you maybe recommend, or how can they get a hold of you?
Look, first of all, please follow me on socials, right? I'm on Instagram, Chris Hunt, the Mental Game Guy, Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn. I have a membership platform called the Therapycise Collective. I don't want to make it a pushy kind of salesy thing today, but what I will say is this, is that the mental game, like anything else, requires effort. It requires work. It requires you to put in the work at various points. So for me, something I like to work with clients on is, let's have a morning routine that sets you up for the day that you want. Let's have a morning routine that sets you up for the days, the weeks, the months, the years, that allow you to be the best version of you as the norm. Not just when you need it, but as the norm. Let's put in some tools at the end of the day that allow you to relax, cool down, enjoy the moment, savor the moment. And how about we put a couple of tools in throughout the day when maybe when you feel a certain way, you got something to bring you back to where you want to be. Because we all have those moments, right? And what I find is the more you work on the mental game, Prosper, you won't eradicate those moments because Life is life. And there's a reason why we have positive and negative emotions. But when you work on the mental game, those moments decrease in intensity, frequency, and duration. So gone are those days where you go, God, a bad day. Nah, a whole day, that's a long time to not be feeling the best version of ourselves.
24 hours, yeah.
Yeah, man, just bring it down. And if that progress and those days become hours to minutes to fleeting moments, you take care of the moments, the minutes and the hours will take care of themselves. But yeah, look, you can find me on social media. I'm all over the show. I'm always doing videos, doing content. Like I said, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. Look me up. I've got a membership platform called the Therapycise Collective. Love working with clients and businesses, sports teams. I've actually got a couple of clients in the US as it stands now, Australia, the US, Norway. Yeah, loads of places at the moment. But yeah, look me up online. I'm always sharing content, and maybe just that one bit of content that day might be the bit of content that works for you. And you'll never know unless you give it a go.
Absolutely. I'll definitely make sure that all those links are in the show notes below. That way, people can choose their path and things of that nature. But Chris, we did allude to the fact that obviously you having a military background and coming into civilians where there's so many safety nets in society, and some of them are maybe a welfare or people don't really need to extend themselves. And people have taken these safety nets and they've used them as hammocks,
Yes.
And they're just chilling, How do you then address the skepticism that comes from either it's potential clients or people that maybe come across you on social media just saying, it can't be all about that, In Australia, they've got a statement, she'll be all right, mate. I can get by, I can skate by without all this.
Yeah. Do you know what? What I'll say to that is, first of all, everyone is different. Right, and I'll say this to everyone. I like to think that what I do and how I work is the best of the best for everyone. But you know what? As you know, Prosper, right? Everybody is different. There'll be someone out there for you. I might be too much for you. I'm quite motivating. I'm quite high energy. I really sharp and give it some. I'm not perfect for everybody. There'll be someone out there for you. But what I would say is for this, that last comment you said about, it'll be all right, I'll get by. When you were little, when you were small, when you had these big dreams and goals, were those words as a theme above those dreams? I'll get by. Nah, just to survive, just to get by. Nah, we can thrive. I truly do believe in that. No matter what's going on around the world, the curveballs, everything like that, if you're doing the right stuff for the right reasons, and you put the right tools in place and you spend time doing the right things and you make life enjoyment and happiness a priority and you make your mind a priority, you can do better than just get by. You can truly flourish. And I truly believe that for everybody. And like I said, just remember those 3 Ps. You might want to flourish. You might want to thrive. You might want to live the dream. But it's going to take patience. It's going to take persistence. And it's going to take some perspiration. But at the end of those 3 things is your green beret moment. Simple as that.
Oh, I love that. And I think this has been a very supercharged call.
I hope so. I hope so, sir.
And I'm hoping people were not trying to slow this down because this is the pace at which it was going. So yeah, I really, really was excited. But it would be remiss for me to not ask you this. Obviously, you've been out 12 years now, and obviously you did it for the love of your kids and that, and all the people that stand to benefit from, Therapycise and all the stuff that you're working on. Yeah. But what's next?
What's next? Well, it's a great question. Without being arrogant, business is really good, right? Family's great. My wife's doing brilliant. Our kids have got, we got our eldest that's now doing like an apprenticeship for hairdressing. She's doing great. We've got our 14-year-old that's in the first year of her GCSEs. It's kind of like the up to the end of secondary school in the US. I think you probably call them something slightly different, right? Yeah. We've got our 10-year-old who's going into secondary school next year. We've got our 5-year-old, little pocket rocket, little gymnast. Honestly, flies around a bar like anything. Life is really good. And in actual fact, what I'm really trying to work on this year is partnerships. So I'll spend a bit like I alluded to with the companies that I work with. I love the energy of working with, not just on my own, but with other companies. I love all that. But in actual fact, something I'm working on this year is all my lot of work, my workshops and one-on-one is to still have the impact, but to not lose sight of what's important to me. And one of my biggest values is my family and my family time. And it's just, again, adjusting a couple of things, playing with a few business processes, playing with a few tweaks where how I work with people. And that's where the kind of membership platform came in, because for me, I'd love to travel the world at some point. I'd love to live abroad. And even though I love the face-to-face element, the perk of the online community, for example, is that you can kind of do it anywhere, and that would allow me in a few years, not yet because of the ages of the children, but the daughters. But I'd love to travel elsewhere. And I think it's just about this year for me. What's next, in answer to your question, is setting things up so I can be even more responsive, reactive, robust than I already am now, but it's exciting. It's already been a great start to the year. Therapycise is booming. My health's great. My family's awesome. I'm enjoying life, working hard and playing hard. Don't forget that, right? Whatever play hard looks like to you, listeners, right? It may be being with your friends. It might be holidays. It may be late nights. It might be clubbing. It might be dancing. It might be sport. Playing hard for me is a big thing, and I enjoy it, and I enjoy life. So yeah, for this year, being more reactive as well as responsive, being proactive as well with that, and just keep on enjoying life. Simple as that, man.
Absolutely. Now, Chris, I can't thank you enough for playing with us today on the Online Prosperity Show. I mean, seriously, your life story and your experience. Yeah. And once again, what you did for your girls is remarkable in and of itself. Some people would have chosen themselves, but that was selfless what you did. And I can only wish you all the best in all your endeavors. And I think what you're doing is truly inspiring.
Thank you. Touche, sir. You too. Thank you.
Absolutely. And for those that are eager to elevate their mental game, obviously connect with Chris at Therapycise and check out the links that I'm going to be putting in the show notes below. I really, really applaud Chris for all he's done, the work he's done, not only for his country, but for his family as well. And for those that have done something similar, please let us know in the comments below and we can celebrate, your journey too. Now, I encourage you to stay tuned for our next episode where we're going to be exploring ideas to cultivate a happier existence. And if you found value in today's discussion, please share this podcast with somebody who could benefit from it. This could be a brother, a sister, a mother, a father who might have lost that spark in their life. Maybe just listening to Chris will reignite all of that and more, and they can also find their own green beret. I can't thank you enough, Chris, for the time that you spent with us.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, listeners. Thank you.
Fantastic. Bye for now.